Today we'll be looking at angles. Welcome viewers. We will be looking at various types of angles in this video, and we'll be explaining them one by one. So what is an angle? An angle is simply the space between two intersecting lines, and it's usually measured in degrees and can also be measured or expressed in radians. So we see this line 0A, and then we have another intersecting line 0B, and then we have an angle in between them, which is Y. So just as it was mentioned before, it's the space between two intersecting lines, and then the measurement of that angle Y, in this particular case we'll just say Y degrees. So what are the angle types? You have an acute angle, you have a right angle, sometimes it's called a perpendicular angle, you have an obtuse angle, you have a straight line angle, you have a reflex angle, and you also have a full rotation angle. Now we can see our arrow pointing from the top downwards, which indicates increasing value or increasing value in terms of the degrees. So what it tells you that an acute angle will be less than a right angle, and a right angle will be less than an obtuse angle, and an obtuse angle will be less in value than a straight angle, and then a reflex angle will be greater than a straight angle, and of course your full rotation angle in this particular case will be greater in terms of the value. So we're going from the least value to the highest value. What is an acute angle? An acute angle is usually between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So it's actually an angle that is greater than 0 degrees but less than 90 degrees. So we see our line 0A, which is the starting point or the reference point. At this particular point, 0A, the angle we have here is 0 because we're starting from the beginning. And then when we have a particular angle A, and then we move in the anti-clockwise direction, which is actually the positive direction, and then we have this line intersecting OA at OB. Therefore, we have an angle in between 0 and 90 degrees, and that makes it an acute angle. Now we will be looking at a right angle. It's also called a perpendicular angle, and a right angle is 90 degrees. So looking at our reference line OA, at which that point it is 0 degrees, we move in the anti-clockwise direction. This time around we have a line which is OB perpendicular to the line OA. Perpendicular means at an angle of 90 degrees to the line OA. So this is what makes it a 90 degrees angle. So when we're talking about a right angle, we are talking about an angle that is equals to 90 degrees. And we can see that the angle B, which makes the line OA and OB inclined at an angle of 90 degrees. That is, OB is perpendicular to OA. Now we look at another angle, this time around an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is in between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. That is, it is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Now let's look at our reference point OA. And also let's look at an angle which is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. So we see our angle C. C degrees starts from OA and then moves in the anti-clockwise direction to OB. And this is an example of an obtuse angle. Obtuse in the sense that it is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. So now we'll be looking at a straight line angle. A straight line angle is simply 180-degree angle. 180 degrees. You go 180 degrees, that is from your starting point 0A, you go through a 90 degrees and then you go through another 90 degrees, which making 290 degrees, and that makes it 180 degrees, and that's a straight line. So our angle here, which is D, is a 180 degrees angle, and it's a straight line. So D is equals to 180 degrees. That is, we're going from 0A all the way to 0B. Now we'll be looking at reflex angles. Reflex angles. These are angles categorized because they are between 180 degrees and 360 degrees. They are greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. And then we'll see a typical example here, starting from OA, which is our starting point or reference point. And then we go all the way from OA in an anti-clockwise direction, all the way to this line OB. And that angle going from OA in the anti-clockwise direction to OB is our angle E. So E is a reflex angle because it is greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. Now let's look at a full rotation angle. Full rotation means starting from 0 and going all the way to 360 degrees. A circle has a 360-degree angle, that is starting from OA and then going a full turn all the way to OB. So that is starting from the beginning and going back to the beginning in a full turn. So it's a full circle. It's a full rotation angle, and that angle is F. And our F is equals to 360 degrees. So let's look at the summary of the angles we have looked at. So we look at the first one on top. We see the acute angle, an angle that is less than 90 degrees. As you can see, angle A is less than 90 degrees. Then we look at the second one, which is the right angle, an angle that is exactly equals to 90 degrees. Sometimes it's called a perpendicular angle. We look at the obtuse angle. An obtuse angle are angles greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. And then we look at the straight line angle, which is simply 180 degrees. Now we finally look at the remaining two, the reflex angle, angles greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees, and then the full angle or the full rotation angle, which is equals to 360 degrees. Thank you.